Do you have Daca? If you do, I'm sure you're quite curious about the current state of Daca, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. I'm immigration attorney Kaylani Villafranca. I've handled hundreds of Daca cases for my clients, and I'm here today to give you a quick update on what's going on with Daca and what you should do right now if you're a Daca recipient. So let's go. Okay. If you have Daca, you know what Daca is. You know that Daca is not a real immigration status that gives you all the rights and responsibilities as someone who has a visa, but it's a deferred action status, which means that the government has promised not to enforce any immigration penalties against you for a period of time. That period of time is 2 years, and you can renew your Daca every 2 years. Now, if that's you, you've probably had Daca for quite a while at this point. Daca, as you know, has been through a lot of ups and downs in the court. And right now, I want you to know what's happening with Daca because we could see some changes coming in the next 6 months or so, and I want you to be prepared. So the Daca cases have gone through the courts for years. In the last month or so, a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued a ruling, and that ruling agreed with a lower court judge. That judge is in South Texas. His name's Judge Hainan. The Fifth Circuit Appeals Court agreed with Judge Hainan that the Daca program, as enacted by President Obama, is unlawful. So that we have a ruling on that case, that Daca is unlawful. Now, however, that doesn't mean your Daca goes away immediately. If you have Daca, you still have Daca because the appeals court sent the case back down to Judge Hainan to ask him to review the current status of Daca to see if it's still unlawful. Well, how is the current status different than the old status? Okay, so President Obama enacted Daca a while ago. Part of the complaint in the court was that he didn't do it in the proper way. And that's what the court agreed with and said, yeah, he didn't do it in the proper way. It's not a lawful program. But President Biden anticipated this ruling, anticipated this problem. And when he took office, he started to go through a process to redo the Daca program and reestablish the rules and go through the proper procedures. And that's been done. And very recently, in the last week or two, those new rules have been enacted. New regulations, new Daca processes. It's the same functionally for you as a Daca recipient, but the process that the government went through to put the program in place, new Daca, is different. And so that is what Judge Hainan, the lower court judge, is being asked to look at. He's being asked to look at President Biden's new Daca regulations, the way in which those were enacted. Are those similarly unlawful, or are they okay and the Daca program can stand? So that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting on a ruling from Judge Hainan on President Biden's new regulations, new enactment of Daca. The new Daca is exactly the same as the old Daca. It just went through a different governmental procedure to become law. And that's what we're waiting on a ruling about. So in the meantime, all these courts have recognized the fact that people who already have Daca have a lot riding on the program, have invested a lot in their lives and their jobs, and they need some stability. So the courts have issued rulings that anyone like you who already has Daca or who has ever had Daca in the past can keep Daca and can continue to renew your Daca status, and critically can travel if you get a grant of advanced parole, which I'll talk about in another video. So right now, the courts have ruled, while we wait on this updated ruling from Judge Hainan, that if you have Daca, you can keep it. If you've had Daca before, you can renew it, even if it's been expired for a while. But if you've never had Daca, even if you're eligible under the Daca rules, if you've never had Daca, you cannot get a Daca grant right now. The government will accept your case, but they're not allowed to rule on it. So you could file all your Daca paperwork and just wait in case something changes in the future. If it were me, honestly, I probably wouldn't do that. I think that's a waste of your time and money right now. If you've never had Daca, even if you're eligible, I don't know that I would get something on file right now because we have no idea if and when those will be processed. Now, also, if you want to cover all your bases, there's no harm to submitting all your Daca information. The only possible harm is that you are disclosing to the government that you are here undocumented and you're giving them all of your information. Now, doing that is worth the risk if you know you can get Daca, but if you have no idea if you'll ever get Daca and you're affirmatively giving your information to the government, that's something to think about. So that's the current status of Daca. Next steps are that we're waiting on a ruling from Judge Hanen about the newly enacted regulations from President Biden to learn whether or not Daca will be continuing or not. We have no idea when that ruling will come, and we do expect some information about it in the next 6 months or so. And I'm filming this in early November of 2022, so you have an idea of timelines. It was great to talk to you guys today. See you soon.